Hello, this is layer groups for After Effects. It's Photoshop style layer grouping directly in the timeline in After Effects, grouping of obviously any kind of layer. This is a quick video, get you going, and then there's a more detailed video to follow. It allows you to expand and collapse groups visually in the timeline like Photoshop. It indents the layer names to show you visually what layers are in which group, and it color codes them automatically, but you can change that in settings if it doesn't suit you. It's one of the most requested features in After Effects according to Adobe. This is what you have. It's an unobtrusive UI that just sits in directly beside your layers. If you're working with layers, you need this docked as close as possible to them. Okay, so I'm going to get into it and show you what all these little buttons do. Buttons are all in the style of After Effects as well, so that it kind of slips right in. Okay, so I have a bunch of stars here, and I'm just going to make a group. Okay, so we'll call it stars. Click return, and all the layers are sucked into that group. Okay, so if I click this button, that expands the group, that contracts the group. As simple as that. Okay, so you can see all the layers are renamed as well with this to show you that they're in the group. Okay, so if I undo that, there's an undo per function here, so you can see it up here. There'll be edit, group, undo, group, contract, and that. So just go back a few steps. If I hold down shift and click new group, and we call it parent stars. Okay, all these child layers are parented to the group. So now if we rotate the group, they all rotate. Okay, so just hold down shift if you want that function and want to control all the groups together as you would in Photoshop. Okay, so if we expand that group again and we turn off the visibility of a couple of layers, okay, so now we're just going to hide the group. Okay, so group is hidden. Layer groups will remember child layer visibility, so if I turn it on again, it's unhid the layers except the layers you had previously hidden. So that'll work great for tracking mats and that kind of thing. Okay, so let's contract again. Okay, so that explains those two. Quite simply then, this is delete group. First I'll just duplicate the group a couple of times. Also, if you hold down shift and expand, it'll expand all groups in the comp. Okay, so you can see there I've duplicated the group that I had there a few times, and it expands them all at the same time. I'll move that up there. Same with contract, hold down shift and collapses all of them. So I mean, that's going to be really useful to work with a tidy comp. Okay, so delete group, exactly like Photoshop. Group selected, ask me, do I want to delete the group or group and content? So if I delete the group, deletes the group and pops all the layers out. Okay, throws them to the top and keeps them in order so your stacking is correct. Okay, say this guy, delete group and contents, gets rid of the group and all the child layers that are not visible. Okay, so it's just gone. So we'll delete these three fully. Okay, so that's delete. Okay, we'll fix these up again and say group Alan. Okay, so I've shown you the duplication, so works like that. But I'm going to do something now with the parenting. So what I've done is it will duplicate the relative parenting intact. So I think this is great. So if you have a setup where that layer is grouped, say, to the first layer in the group, and the second one is grouped to the last layer, and say the middle layer is grouped to one that's not in any group. So we'll say that's master animation. I'll just delete that group. Oops, I'll delete all its layers as well. Okay, so you might have a system of parenting here, and if I duplicate the group, all that parenting is duplicated intact, relatively intact that is. So this layer is parented to this layer, okay? because this original layer was parented to this layer that's not in any group. Okay, this layer is parented to this layer because the relative parenting is matched in the original group. Okay, so I think that's going to be really useful. So it will allow you to create, a complicated setup within a group and simply duplicate it, and any animation or whatever is obviously going to remain intact because the relative parenting is intact. So I think that's important and should be useful. Okay. Now you want to swap between groups or add to groups, subtract from groups. So quite simply, if I wanted to move top 3 from this group into that group, you just select them and one layer group, and that's your add to group button. So it pops them in, and there you go. Right, now a nice I'll just undo that. A nice addition to that, if I hold down shift and I click add to group, it's going to parent these automatically to the group. Okay, so you can see those layers now are automatically parented to this new group, so that could be quite useful as well. I forgot one thing with delete there. If I just hold down shift, it deletes the group and the content. So if you just want to get rid of the groups, you just hold down shift and they're gone, and all their contents. Okay, the selected ones. All of these incidentally work across multiple groups. So if I duplicate that a good few times, so you've lots and lots of different groups there. You can select a good few groups simultaneously and turn off the visibility, on the visibility, or expand, collapse, delete, duplicate. So if I click duplicate again, it's right, there's a whole pile of groups there. Again, remember, shift down and contract will collapse all the groups. Okay, so I'll just delete those again. Group and contents. Okay, so where are we? Down here at subtract from group. So simply selecting any amount of layers that you want to degroup, and just click minus, pops them out and renames them to what they were. So if you just wanted to kill that group, you could do that, or you could just click delete group, and you don't want to delete the contents, just delete the group, so your system goes back to normal. Okay, now we go to rename group. So I'll just say that's Alan, and this is your rename group, so we'll call it Guffaw. Okay, so there's your new group, and all the child layers are aware of that new naming, so they will follow that in the comp. Okay, this is the stacking button. This also operates auto stacking. So first of all, what is stacking? In Photoshop, you are able to drag and drop into groups. You can't do that in After Effects. So for instance, if I grab this layer and I drag it between these two groups, you would expect that it's between the groups, but as you can see here, it's only layer 2. So if I expand those groups, you can see that it's actually seems to be in the first group. So how do we deal with this? Just contract it all. So this is stacking. So it stacks the layers in the whole comp as you would like to appreciate from moving from Photoshop. So if I click that button, then this layer is truly between these two groups now. You can see it's been moved to layer 10. So if I expand again, you can see that it comes after that group. Okay, so you might also be working away and maybe layers are getting mixed up or whatever, and the whole principle of having groups is getting a bit messy. So you can simply just click this button and everything goes back to where it should be. Okay, so it's stacking and it looks after your stacking. So you might not want to be pressing this all the time, obviously. So in settings, I have a setting where you can turn on auto stacking. So while you use layer groups, it will attempt to keep all the layers in the right stack order. So I'm going to turn that on, close it. With the settings, you have to close out the script and go and load it again. So it's off screen there, but you just reload it, and there it is. And now there's a little green light, so auto stacking is going to happen. So that means that If everything is sort of messed up there and this guy is up here and maybe the layer group layer is down there, just everything is mixed up. Say I make a new group from these guys and we'll call it whatever, Alan. Okay, so I have a new group made, but what happened in the background is our stacking button was sort of pressed automatically, so everything else was sorted out. Okay, so you can see this guy was thrown up to the top because it didn't belong stacked in the group Alan. Okay, and all these other layers were sent back to their group, and these layers were sent back to their group. So even when you collapse and expand, auto stacking will make sure that these layers that don't belong in groups are not in the groups, and it will just save you a bit of clicking. So it's something to play with and see, does it work well for you, or do you want the full control of the positioning of the layers? Okay, so that's auto stacking. Now in settings then I have you know, something to just get you running pretty quickly, little explanations on that, or simply watch the video, which you're doing right now, I suppose. There's a couple of settings here. There's other buttons with text, maybe if you want to get started to get used to how it works. You can turn off tree indentation. I recommend you don't. It just helps you visually see what's in a group. But if you are using it, it does change the layer name, so it might affect expressions, be aware. Random color for groups, if you don't want my script to change your colors, but I mean, it obviously works to color code the groups. Add layers to top or bottom of a group when adding, and the same when removing top or bottom. Auto stacking on or off, and also tagging the child layers with a marker. You can switch that off if it doesn't suit your needs. And there's some more information here that you might want to read. So this is a script. It sits in comfortably with After Effects. That's it. Hope you enjoy it, and I hope it helps your workflow. Thank you very much.